What is it that drives you? I'm sure this is a question many people say, like, why is it worth it to take these risks? What drives Alex?
I mean, it's an interesting time to be having this whole conversation because for the last like 3 weeks, maybe I've been really unmotivated. And though actually, it's hard to say if I'm unmotivated or if it's just that I've been kind of sucking, and that often affects motivation because it's like, you can spend your whole year just like grinding and like putting in the time, putting in the effort, like doing workouts, like getting up, eating well, like doing all the things, like living well. And then if you just don't see results from it and or you see like negative progress from it, then it's really hard to stay motivated for all that kind of stuff because you're like, why am I eating well? Why am I sleeping? Why am I doing all these things if it doesn't even matter? And I'm just like sucking anyway.
You're sucking at what? Sorry.
Oh, like life, climbing, just like not quite having the energy, like not being able to do the things that you think you should be able to do.
I see.
It's like, or like if, like in my case, for the last 2 months, I was kind of working on a hard climb near my home. And I was making good progress on it. And then for like a month, I basically just have made like negative progress and like felt worse, felt more tired, like just not able to do what I had been doing the month before. And so, but with no obvious reason as to why, really. It feels like you're still doing all the right things, but you're just not seeing the results that you think you should. And so then that's always a little demoralizing and you're like, oh man. But I think that, when you talk about motivation though, in a lot of ways, it's all about the big picture, the long-term motivation. Because even right now, even like in the last couple of weeks that I've been kind of in a slump, I'm still training. I'm still doing, I'm still roughly eating well and like still basically living well. Because I know that at some point I'll come back out of my little slump and I'll still have the foundation there to climb hard again, train hard again, whatever else. So I think motivation is like trying to stay on a path even when it feels a little rocky, like a little bumpy.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
So can you not view the slump, the current sucking phase, as another stumbling in the same way that when climbing, you view stumbling as, well, that's just necessary. No one's expected to skateboard and do great tricks right off the bat. So why should I expect climbing to be any different? Why should I expect life to be any different?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I probably should think of it that way. It's just, I think it's harder because when you feel like you're sucking at life, it's like weeks and weeks of suck. With climbing, I think the time frame matters because like with the climb, you try a climb and, it's like 10 or 15 minutes of like trying really hard and you don't succeed. And you're like, that's fine. I'll try again later today. But when it's like weeks of that or months of that, you're like, okay, it's starting to be a little bit of a grind. Like I just want some kind of change.
This sounds foreign to you. Has there ever been a period of your life of depression or of lulls like this? Is this new?
No, it's not totally new. I mean, there are periods. I don't know if I'd ever say I've been clinically depressed. I would say my whole emotional band is pretty narrow. Like, if people operate from a 1 to 10, I could sort of operate between a 4 and 6, I think. I'm never that down. I'm never that up. I'm like, or maybe I operate between like a 5 and 7, because I'm generally like pretty content and rarely that down. But it's just never like wild swings one way or another. But no, I definitely go through periods of though I sort of suspect that my down periods coincide with just being worn down physically. Just like basically overdoing it for months at a time and then just being totally freaking worked.
Yeah. Going back to the topic of drive, are there additional motivators at play?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, wanting to feel like a good climber, basically. Like wanting to feel like I'm good at what I do, or that. One of the things is like the sensation of improving. Feeling like I'm doing better than I have in the past, which I think
yes
is a tough thing to motivate you though, because obviously as I age, that'll just get harder and harder. Because eventually there will become a point where it's like impossible to outdo previous performances because you just don't have the same physical body that you did, 20 or 30 years ago or something. And so, it's funny because that's always been pretty motivating, the feeling of progress, the feeling of improvement. But I kind of know that at some point that's going to disappear. And, I definitely need something else to motivate me. And that's this is all kind of deep. I'm also just motivated by the sheer fun of, I love climbing and I love the sensation of, I love going out and just enjoying climbing. I mean, what you're talking about, like what drives you is like the deeper. I mean, there's also just the sheer pleasure of it. Like I just love going climbing.
Hmm. So for me, I'm similar in that what drives me is I want to be extremely good, but I'm also egotistical in that I want to be the best. So not only do I have to be better than I was previously, but I have to be better than someone else that I would consider to be in my category, or find a way to mentally tell myself that I'm in some different category that is blue ocean in the marketing sense. And so for you, I heard you mention that you would like to improve on a, say, monthly basis. But is there also an aspect of you that is comparing yourself to what's external, like someone else?
I mean, yeah, obviously a little bit, but I think actually in some ways I'm lucky that climbing is a really broad sport. And so there basically you wind up a specialist, be like people who just boulder, people who just sport climb, people who just alpine climb or like ice climb. You know, basically there are these different categories of like different types of climbing you can do. And I've always been a little bit of a generalist where I do a lot of different things at a relatively high level, but I'm not the best at any of those things, except maybe for free soloing. But even that, I'm not, you know, depending on how you categorize it, I wouldn't be the best. I've just done some things that other people haven't done. And so I think it actually, in some ways, keeps a healthier frame on climbing for me because I just know that I won't be the best in any of these disciplines. You know, like on like a daily basis, I climb with other people who are better than me at the things that they do.
I see.
And
Interesting.
so I just, you know, it's easy to not be too competitive in that way when you just know that there's just no, you know, like I just can't be the best at those things. And I've never even been remotely close to the best of those things. You know, like when I was a kid, I did youth competitions and you know, all the kind of like little league style competitions. And you know, obviously I was good, but I was never the best. You know, I wasn't like winning nationals. And then just by sheer coincidence, there were a couple other climbers who wound up being sort of elite, you know, professional climbers, but they grew up in the same region as me at the same time. And so when I was going to youth comps, I was always getting second or third to a couple of these other guys that also wound up being great climbers. But, you know, by the time they were 15, they'd moved on to doing the adult competitions because they could win money that way. And I was still doing the youth comps and I was like, and I'm still not winning, you know, and the good guys have already moved on to like the big leagues. And, you know, and so I think I've known from the beginning that I'm not and never will be the best physically. But that doesn't mean that I can't have great adventures and have a good time climbing and push myself and improve. And, you know, it's like I still love climbing, but I just know that I'm not physically gifted in any way.
How are you measuring this progress?
Well, just doing things that I haven't been able to do before. I mean, climbing is broken into grades and things. So there are easy, objective ways to measure your progress in terms of difficulty. But you can also measure your time on routes sometimes, like speed records, things like that. And then, I mean, also a very unquantifiable way, though, is just to sort of evaluate your sensations when you climb. Because like occasionally you do things that you didn't think you could do. And I think that's honestly one of the best experiences in climbing is when you're sure that you can't do something, but you try and then you do it and you're like, oh my God, you know, like, because a lot of the time you're really, really fatigued and like the next hold looks really far away and you're like, oh, I could throw for that hold, but there's no way that I'm going to be able to grab it. It's like, I'm for sure going to fall off. But, you know, you throw for it anyway, just like hoping. And then miraculously your hands just hold on. And you're like, oh my God, I held it. Like, I can't believe that. So like anytime you outperform your own expectations is always a real pleasure.
Sounds like a metaphor for life. So many people had questions about your dreams. I don't know if you've mentioned this before, but there were several questions like, what does Alex dream about and does he have recurring dreams?
You mean actual dreams like during sleep?
Yeah.
I basically never remember dreams. Like I couldn't tell you. I mean, maybe like once or twice a year, I'll actually remember dreams. And even then, normally within an hour or two of waking up, I don't remember them. So dreams mean basically nothing to me. Like actual, you know, like I have aspirations and things, but actual like literal dreams like mean nothing to me. And it's not like a point of contention in my relationship, but my wife has very vivid dreams and is always telling me, I had the craziest dream, and then goes into this long story. And I just do not care at all. Cause I'm like, you know, that's not real, right? Like who cares? Like I've never had a vivid dream. I don't remember them. It means nothing to me.
And what is she asking you to do? To interpret them, or she's just relaying it?
No, she just relays it. Or, you know, she wakes up and she's like upset with you because you're like, you did the craziest thing in my dream last night. And you're like, what are you smoking? Like, that's not even real. Like I did, you know, like what?
Yeah, there's a comedian who had this whole joke about how his wife would get upset with him. I think it was Ray Romano. You know, Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the joke. His wife would beat him up because she's like, yeah, you slept with someone in my dream. He's like, I didn't. She's like, but you would if this was real.
That's exactly. My wife will have the same kinds of things, and you're like, that I have no control over that, and it means nothing to me, and it didn't actually happen. You're like, this is crazy.
If you enjoyed that clip, then the full podcast is out right now. You can click around here. Enjoy. Subscribe to Theories of Everything to get notified of upcoming podcasts, as there are new full-length podcasts every week on the topics of mathematics, physics, consciousness, free will, and AI.